We are rolling. All right, so I am with Frank Borgese and Chris Graham of the law offices of Graham and Borgese, consumer debt defense, a law firm in serving New York and New Jersey. Welcome, gentlemen. Thanks for joining me.
Thank you for having us.
Yeah.
Thanks for having us.
So guys, how's quarantine life treating you? Have you gone insane yet? Either one, whoever wants to go.
That's how badly it's hit us. Neither one of us can speak.
so many thoughts running through my head.
We have, Chris and I both have a pair of children that were home with our wives, trying to get through schooling and everything like that. So, we're feeling the effects like so many others, trying to, navigate our own daily lives and also take care of them in this new frontier. So yeah, we're feeling it, but still working hard and helping a lot of people in the process.
You, Chris? How are you?
Yeah, pretty much same thing. I think there's some things that I'm actually enjoying, seeing the kids a lot more and doing stuff with them. But certainly, I'm not used to having to make lunch every day and do math and science. And we just finished PE, so we went down to the basement and we worked out and we did weights together, which was kind of fun with Logan for his PE class. But it's very structured. My wife puts it all together, but then she goes to work, so then I kind of just have a schedule that I follow every day. And the teachers are really good about providing a schedule as well with links to, whatever we're supposed to be, math, reading, this and that, and the other thing, crafts. So, yeah. So my understanding is they canceled school for the rest of the year, at least going into school. So you guys you're doing phys ed at home, huh? That's interesting. Phys ed science, social studies. Sometimes we just cook things, we made homemade pasta the other day. We go outside and we look at, I think we were studying metamorphosis, so we were looking for butterflies and caterpillars, and then we would paste them onto pieces of paper and then take pictures, and then you have to upload them to the teacher so they can see them. Okay. Sometimes we're just reading things out loud and videotaping ourselves and then uploading them, and then there's a lot of Zooms going on obviously too as well with the teachers. Yeah, which is crazy. It's
got to be just a shock to to change, this quick change that we've all been in and are going through right now, and you're almost homeschooling them in a way, right? Right now. I mean, you're getting help from the teachers, but you're way more hands-on. I mean, it could be beneficial for the kids, depending on how old they are.
Probably not mine, but yes, it could be beneficial for some kids.
I'm sure it's.
I agree with that sentiment. We always appreciated the teachers, but just so much more now, seeing how difficult everything is, and we miss them very much and look forward to hopefully getting back at the start of next year.
Yep,
definitely. I suppose that's the plan. Now, have they said anything about exams, or are they that's going to be from home too? It doesn't seem.
They canceled them.
So the exams are canceled. So is everyone just
everything
passing?
It's a pass fail. Basically, you just have to do completion, basically. And
okay.
And really, from our kids, they're very young, so that's not even an issue. It's really for more of the middle schoolers and the high schoolers, where they're just getting completed or not completed. So they have to do their assignments and then complete them, basically, and that's pretty much it. For our kids, my kids are in second grade and fifth grade. Lexi's very much more, she's 11, so she basically just goes up and does her stuff. I don't really have to do much. With Logan, it's much more hands-on, obviously, for an 8-year-old, So
yeah, I would think so, for sure. Yeah.
Needs help with everything. Yeah.
So as far as work is concerned, guys, Chris, I see are you working mostly from home? Frank, it looks like you're in the office. Why don't you, how's the day-to-day as far as this new reality as far as work is concerned for you guys?
Well, we're both staying very busy. I mean, I know for myself, we have so many clients, so there are people that, even during this difficult time are trying to maybe take advantage of circumstances and see if they can get better settlements than they might otherwise be able to get. And you know, this whole situation has impacted everybody so differently. There's some people that we represent that have lost all their income. We've had other people who, you know, maybe have been furloughed and as a result of programs are maybe getting a little bit more money in now through unemployment than they might otherwise have been, you know, getting, and wanting to use that to their advantage to see if they can kind of catapult themselves into a better financial situation with their debt moving forward. So, you know, we've been in contact with so many of our clients who are just looking for the best way to take advantage of the situation if they can. And so that's keeping me busy every day. And we've actually managed to get quite a few spectacular settlements during this time because of the situation. So it's in trying to make the most of a bad situation, I guess.
Are you finding that that creditors are more interested right now in settling than they were beforehand? Are they just trying to get whatever they can, and is that resulting in better deals for your clients overall? Or?
I think that you know, I think that it's like anything in law. You know, there's no bright line rule or single answer. I think it's a factor of multiple factors that plays into it. So for example, you know, I am seeing situations where certain creditors and law firms that are maybe traditionally more stingy are willing to talk about a reduced settlement, and you know, that's made things more beneficial for certain clients of ours. But we also have other creditors that maybe they think that this is a temporary thing and they want to stand pat and maybe be a little bit more difficult, a little more stingy. And I don't think it's necessarily, you know, creditors are all panicked, but certainly I think they're looking at their bottom lines and what this financial circumstances are surrounding our clients to see if taking less than usual it makes sense for them. So I am seeing more of it, but you know, me and Chris were always very cautious and conservative about you know, expectations. So you know, we think it's an opportunity, but not necessarily, you know, a definite that everybody should, you know, expect moving forward.
Sure, true. Chris, what are your thoughts, you know, and have you, as far as business debts, obviously you guys do both. You do individuals, you also handle businesses that are having financial issues related to debt. So have you guys seen an uptick, you know, with more businesses calling you right now? And do you expect to in the future as this continues to play out?
I haven't seen really an uptick, but I think that's because pretty much everyone is kind of just sitting tight and wanting to see what's going to happen. I do expect a lot more calls from businesses, obviously, in the future. I think that, you know, I'm curious actually to see if we see a lot of businesses just close and go bankrupt, or if there is, like, you know, some recovery, you know, that's possible for them. You know, a lot of the businesses obviously are closed right now and just aren't doing anything. So, you know, they're not really calling, because I think right now at this point in time, for people too, they're thinking, well, if I'm not employed, like, what are the creditors going to do? Like, I can't call a creditor and try to get a settlement together if I can't even pay them anything, you know? So, I mean, I think that's the problem right now, is that nobody, and until we have like some hard, fast dates and people start going back to work, people aren't going to really feel comfortable, you know, trying to commit. And I think that's the big thing is that if you are going to commit to something, they want to know that, you know, that they can follow through with it. So I talk to people every day and kind of strategize, but usually the plan has to have some type of, you know, there's usually some type of like open-ended thing where you're like, oh, we don't really know, you know, are we going to go back to work in 2 weeks? Is it going to open on the 15th, or is it going to open on I think it really becomes, and I've been watching it very closely. It's such a politicalized thing now that, really is sad because it's not really based on science. It's not really based on anything now. It's more, unfortunately, and I'm not taking one side or the other, whatever's better for the country, I guess, but it's so one-sided one way or the other that, it seems like some people want to stay closed, for indefinite periods of time here, and then other ones want to open right away. So, and I guess we have to see who wins, like who basically, what happens, I guess. And I think that's what most people are waiting for. As soon as something happens and we see movement, I think that we will see a lot of people contacting us, a lot of people, because, yeah.
I agree. I think that's probably what's going to happen. You're right. As soon as people start going back to work and I think start to get into the new normal, people who either needed your services before this happened or now because it has happened. Yes, I think there's going to be a flood of both businesses and individuals. So let me ask you this, guys. What's going on with the courts right now? That they're closed. Are they doing virtual hearings? I've seen some on the criminal side. I've seen some virtual things going on where the judges are at home and people are in their homes. How's as far as when you guys have to go to court? Have you seen? Are you guys doing anything right now as far as the courts are concerned?
Yeah, I mean, they were definitely closed for a period of time for everything that was non-essential, and a lot of the debt-related things were considered non-essential. And so, most recently, beginning of this week, they announced the intention to start to open things up online, to move along filings, things that were already pending. So if there were motions and things like that, they actually created a new electronic case filing system. So that's really early on in the development. So I think everybody's still trying to feel it out and figure out what is permissible and what can be done. I know the courts are trying to basically lessen the impact of a stoppage being lifted and suddenly the floodgates open and everybody that's been waiting to bring lawsuits, all these creditors that have been waiting to sue, they don't want to get inundated with, tens of thousands of lawsuits and backlog everything. So this is, I think, an attempt to try and, lessen the impact of that when it does happen. And, we've been dealing with a lot of files, preparation of motions that we wanted to bring, but also, people are being impacted by judgments that were already obtained years ago or months ago. So the impact on those individuals is apparent, regardless of what's going on with the court. So we've been doing a lot of different things over the last month and a half, 2 months, but courts are slowly opening back up, and I think it's going to just continue down that path.
You said that they created a new filing system. I was talking with some people the other day about things that are going to permanently change as we come out of this. Because certain things are never going to go back to the way they were. So I'm wondering if you guys see any of that in your industry, maybe as far as the courts are concerned. Do you see that filing system sticking around? Do you see maybe virtual hearings to be something that may continue even past this? Or you guys, this is open for either one of you. What kind of permanent changes do you maybe see, coming along, either just in life in general or, in your industry?
I think that we're going to see some changes in the entertainment industry with the movies being the way the licensing's done for movies, which you see was coming anyway, because you would see the movies being being released online sooner and sooner, to when they were released in the theaters. But I think, you see like the issues with AMC and Universal Pictures and like the way they're having some issues now and fighting. I think you're going to see the exclusive licensing going away. And then why would anyone want to spend $20 a person to go to a theater when they can literally just watch it at home for $20 for the entire movie and own it? So I think that's going to change. Buying of cars online, I think, is going to be really big. I think people are going to do that more and more and have them just delivered to their homes. I think that's going to be big. Zooms like this, I think, are going to be really, really big for businesses and for just in general, things like that. But and then I think, for us, I think we're going to see like kind of like a real, like a 24. I see it more of as like a 24 to 36 month thing that we're going to see, because I think we're going to see the market collapse eventually here, and then I think what we're going to see is, I think, with the unemployment at 30 million, there will be some stimulus and things that they try to do, but I think eventually we're just going to see a huge increase in bankruptcies and foreclosures, and that's going to take a while though. I think that's going to take 12 to 24 months, and then you're going to see the housing market just collapse, and you're going to see something probably akin to like 2008 happening. And I don't think there's any way around it. You know what I mean? You can't just shut down everything and not have anybody working and no money coming in and spend 2 trillion or trillions of dollars basically and not have that happen, right? So, but I think right now everyone's just like trying to hold on, and you see like kind of like a denial in the marketplace. Like if you look at like the auto industry, you see a 10%, 12% reduction or fall in the last 14 days just in the wholesale market side of things. But in the retail side of things, it's only a 1% reduction, because basically, and I try to explain this to our clients, they're like, well, why wouldn't Bank of America take 40% or 20%? Don't they want something? Like and it's like, yeah, but if somebody owed me money and I knew that all the people that owed me money didn't have any money, and I was talking to somebody trying to get money, I would try to get as much as I possibly could, right? I wouldn't and it's not until the cash gets so tight that you become desperate that you're going to take that much less, so, and the same thing with that settlement, like, when you just default on something, they're going to try to help you out and get you back on track. They're not going to try to just take 20%. You know what I mean? They're not going to try to take 50%. They really need you to be in default for quite some time. And I think that the car companies are the same way, and a lot of the other retailers and the banks with the foreclosures, is that they're waiting, because they have enough cash, right, to basically hold on for a while. But eventually they're going to run out of cash, and they're going to have to start reducing on the retail side. And the creditors are going to have to start taking less in settlement as well. So it's just kind of, but I think it's going to take a while for us to get to that point where people are not in denial anymore and the cash reserves are gone, and they're not able to. I mean, if you look at Disney, how much they lost, I think it was close to 60%, in this last month. That's a lot of money. 100,000 people unemployed just from Disney alone is huge. And then the way they're talking about things, the way that they're going to try to get things going again, it's not going to be an overnight type thing. They can't just hit a button and turn back on. So it's going to be a long, maybe October, November, they'll start opening things up again, like in a real normal type situation, where people aren't like completely fettered. Because people go there and they spend all this money, especially from international people spending all this money. They don't go there to basically, have they want the whole experience when you spend that type of money. And I think you'll see that, across the board with all the different parks and all the different, entertainment and media. They did just open in Shanghai, and we'll see how that goes. But it's interesting. And then with inflation and everything that's going to go on with inflation and the dollar,
it disappeared for the last 20 years.
Yeah.
I'm not sure it still exists. Well, I guess we're going to find out, right?
It's interesting. It's scary, but on a historical side of things, if you just like kind of study the way things are going, the way things went in 2011 and 2008, and in the market, and how, people are really confused because the market's still fine. The market's still going up.
The market's in denial.
The market's in denial. Amazon's trading at $2,200 a share. You know what I mean? Yeah. Roku, just all these, Disney still at $100 something a share, still not really, being affected that much yet. So it's
I think you're going to see, I think what'll happen when the second quarter's numbers come out and you see a 40% contraction in the economy, because this last quarter, I think, was just 5% because it had just half of March in it. Yeah. When this next quarter comes out and it's a 40-50% contraction, I think that's when the market's going to shake it. They're going to wake up and go, so.
And there won't be more money coming from the government as freely, probably. So we're kind
how
of
long can they
feeling.
keep doing it? How long can they
Yeah.
keep just pumping out money? I mean, eventually you would think hyperinflation would come at some point, but
And I'd like to say it would run out, but it's not like it even runs out because
no, they can just
it
print
wasn't,
it.
it wasn't even really there.
Yeah,
Right?
that's true too. Yeah, it's just kind of inventing it. Where do they throw
Yeah.
$4 trillion into the stock market? I think, and I think they've
Yep.
spent like over $6 trillion so far. And there's a couple Congress people who are talking about printing 2 platinum coins worth $1 trillion each, I think, or something like that, so that they can start giving people more money. Yeah, it's crazy. One of the things I think is going to change, and I'd like to hear from both of you guys on this, as far as working from home. I know that over the last 15 years at least, there's a lot of businesses that have thought about it, but they haven't trusted their employees. I mean, that's really the biggest issue is, do I trust you to work from home? Now they've been forced to. And I think a lot of companies are starting to see that, yeah, this is something we can do. So, do you guys think that this could be a big permanent move to there? And just think of the money that people could save on rent. 20,000 square foot office building I don't have to use anymore because I can have 50-60% of my staff working from home. So just in general, and maybe for you guys personally, because I know you guys both have offices, have you given it any thought? And of having people work from home just to save on rent space.
I mean, I think there's definitely advantages to cutting costs for employers in that regard. And I think, if I were an employee given the opportunity, I think you can become more efficient in many ways if you're not spending time traveling. You can save costs yourself without having to pay for transportation. So I think there's a lot of advantages to it. I think it's going to depend on the job type and, what's being asked of the person and what kind of person is given the opportunity to work from home. But, certainly working from home at times myself during this quarantine, there's certainly challenges that you are faced with, whether it might be screaming children in the background. We've all laughed at the YouTube videos of people standing up on Zoom meetings and not wearing any pants. And I'm showing you that I'm wearing pants here. So
I have pants on too, I promise.
Nervous.
No pants over here.
Chris is very low over there, so we have to worry. But
and this is a half shirt too.
a tube top. But it's one of those things where I think less people traveling, less traffic, less accidents. I mean, it could really have a significant impact. Pollution. So I don't know. It maybe ties in a little bit to the question you asked before about changes that we might be looking at, and maybe having people work from home more is one of the permanent changes that comes from this. I think that we've always had supreme faith in people that have worked for us to work from home from time to time if they needed to for various reasons. And I think as I'm reaching out to collection agencies and banks and things of that nature now, trying to negotiate settlements, I'm being transferred from department to department, and a lot of times I get the sense that I'm being transferred from home to home to talk to different people. So it's definitely an unusual time, but I could see that happening. I could see that being a permanent fixture, for many companies moving forward.
I just saw a study that said 58% of the people that were asked said that they would take a pay cut if they were allowed to work from home, which I thought was interesting. So that's even more of a savings, where if a business, especially a big business that had a lot of employees,
a lot of people like their two
less
and pantless, at meetings.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I know I've talked to our employees, and a lot of them say that they really enjoy working from home, and they're not looking forward to going back to the norm. So, but I don't know. I think there's a lot of good things too about being together and seeing each other. I think that's a good thing too for morale, communication. So I like going to the office, but at the same time, I think that there's definitely a time place where it is nice to be able to just work from home as well.
I think people get cabin fever too. I mean, as nice as it might be to work from home for a stretch or a spell, I think getting out and about, getting away. I don't know. Some people are distracted with the things that they have at home. They can, watch TV or play games or do things that take their focus off of their work. And so I think as an employer, there are going to be employers that are still a little leery. Now it's out of necessity. There's no option. I think they're going to probably monitor, output and quality of work. And, but certainly if there's a way to reduce costs and continue to keep morale up and keep people involved and activated, I think, that might be a change that we see take place in the next 6 months to a year. And honestly, there's been discussions in New York about the future of schooling and whether it might be remote. I personally don't necessarily think that would be a great idea. And it's very difficult for parents to monitor and supervise, their children doing lessons and things like that. So, I'm sure it's early on in the discussion, so they might have different ways of achieving that. But I think remote access and communication via Zoom and other platforms is probably something we're going to see a lot more of moving forward.
I definitely agree. So earlier you guys were talking that, you're having people call and Chris, I think you specifically said, a lot of people are kind of holding off, they don't have a job or waiting for things to kind of settle down. What do you want to say to people like that? I mean, people who do have debt issues, they know they have debt issues, and they're waiting to see what happens in the future. What's your advice to them? Should they still call you guys? Is there a reason, even if they don't enter into an agreement with you at that point? It's to me, it would seem that it would be in someone's best interest to kind of stay on top of their finances, at least kind of have the process going. If they know they're going to want to settle, if they know they have a judgment or whatever it may be, and they're going to deal with it at some point in the future, what's your advice to them right now where they sit, for the people that think, why should I even bother?
I think it's good to reach out now. I mean, just because we can help them strategize as well, and talk about what's to come. Because generally speaking, I feel like even if, a lot of the people that I've talked to, even when they do start working again, we're still going to have to help them. It's not like them starting to work again is just going to catch them up automatically.
Yeah.
It's like, like the mortgage payments that they're deferring for 6 months. I mean, those people aren't going to magically have 6 months of payments ready to go after 6 months, right? It's just not going to happen. So they're still going to have to get into some type of modification or agreement with the mortgage companies. And like with the forbearance, like with the student loans, obviously they're going to be fine because they're all getting pushed to the end. But I think a lot of people aren't really reading the fine print either, and they're getting into these agreements with the car companies and the credit card companies and the utility companies, who are all very, very nice and are all saying, oh, it's fine, don't worry about it. But then, I've talked to people who said they talked to the utility company that said it was fine, don't worry about it, and then they just turned off their power. You know what I mean? So it wasn't obviously fine, even though they were told. Because what are they going to say to people when they say, well, I'm not working and I'm at home and I can't leave and the whole world shut down? So I mean, as a heartless person, that like, well, that sucks. Unfortunately, we got to turn off your power because you're not paying the bill. So they don't say that, but then obviously they do.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, So I guess basically sitting down with somebody and looking at the numbers and figuring out what's going to happen when things do turn around.
Okay. Yeah.
If you do go back to work, because a lot of people aren't going back to work. I've talked to friends that own businesses and other people, and they've said, when we do open up again, we're going to open up, but we're not going to take everyone back. Either because we've figured out ways that we don't need to anymore because we were forced to, or we can't afford to, or we're simply taking advantage of the situation where we don't have to, because, there's people where they weren't running lean and now they're like, we're laying off 15 people because, they're gone and we're just not bringing them back. And now as an employer, we're in a good position where we can just say, basically use that as an excuse. And there's going to be a lot of people that are doing that because they're going to want to run lean for a while, which is smart, honestly.
From a business perspective, yeah,
Yeah.
of course it is. Yeah, I mean, if you can get by with less people, you know, tireless as it sounds, I mean, from a business perspective, that's what they're going to do. So
Yeah, you know, honestly, I heard a commercial the other day. It was in the divorce realm of litigation, and the gentleman's commercial, he was basically saying, listen, you know, when somebody gets divorced, a lot of times people wait until they are doing really well to get divorced because they know divorce is expensive, but it actually has a negative impact on them because they're doing so well. It results in higher support payments and other things that they have to take care of. And so, you know, he was essentially saying, you know, I'm not saying, you know, if you feel like you're not ready, don't file divorce. But if you're ready for divorce and you just think you're not making a ton of money, it might actually still make sense to go file divorce at that time because it can benefit you in the long run. And it made me think many ways the same thing for people that are dealing with debt issues. A lot of times, you know, people might be thinking, let me wait until I have my finances completely squared away or I'm making a ton of money to try and resolve this debt. But again, you know, I think a lot of what we do is, you know, convey hardships and figure out how people are protected from collection. And so, you know, if you're not necessarily making a lot of money right now or you're laid off temporarily, it still may be the best time to think about trying to look into your options and address your debt situation, because you might be able to lock in lower settlements or lower payments, and then when your finances improve, you don't have to worry about, you know, maybe the settlement consequences or the collection consequences following your increased, you know, financial capacity. So just another reason why somebody might still want to reach out to us now, just to find out what their options are.
that's a good point that you just made, for sure. So yeah, bottom line is, you know, your consultations are free and they are no obligation. So people should give you guys a call, just to kind of, like as Chris said, strategize, get things in place. Maybe you can get a better deal for them right now. No promises, but it's a possibility based on kind of what's been going on with you recently. So, you know, if everyone out there, if you've got some debt issues, either beforehand or since this has started, you know, reach out to Graham and Borgese, and you know, they're there to help you. If nothing else at this point, kind of just get your ducks in a row and you know, plan for the future to take care and resolve these issues. So, gentlemen, we've been talking here for about 40 minutes. You know, the last thing I'd like to get from you guys today is, what's the one thing you guys miss the most right now, being stuck in the house? The one thing you can't do that you want to do. Whoever wants to go first. You both look kind of, you're both thinking about this one. Curveball edge.
The first and last questions were your hardest. They both threw us off guard. But I mean, for me, you know, I miss our staff. I miss you know, the interactions that we have every day. Obviously, we still communicate via phone and Zoom as everybody else is, but you know, for me, in-person communication is still, you know, something that we miss and look forward to.
Yeah, and similarly, I mean, I miss the staff, of course. I miss friends coming over, you know, and hanging out. I miss going. Honestly, I don't love going to the store, but now that I can't go to the store anymore, I kind of actually miss going to this. It's like one of those things, you know. Sometimes, you know, you're like, oh, I want to run out and grab, you know, something small at Lowe's or whatever, and or look at us. Frank and I have been talking about smokers recently. I'm like, oh, I'd love to go out and just take a look at a smoker, but I don't want to have to like get the hazmat suit on and like the whole thing. So, you know, I mean, so that's what I miss. It's just like the convenience of being able to move around freely and not worry about everything, basically. So,
yes. And I don't know if you guys have noticed yet, but if you guys are meat eaters, I'd probably stock up on some right now. Stores are starting to get a little bare. I just thought I would throw that out there. There's definitely some shortages coming. I love a good steak, so I stocked up last week. So.
Oh, good. Good.
So,
Yep.
you guys need any? Just give me a call. I got a chest.
You get a whole cow.
All right. Well, it was great talking to you guys. Stay on the line with me. I'll end our recording, and hopefully we'll be back here next week. All right. You guys take care.
You too. Thank you.